Coastal Marine forecast making a comeback for you here as we head into the weekend. Look, you gave us some great feedback along the way. Many of you said what I'd really love is the weather story about what's going on out on the water. So this is a chance to do that here. We're going to take you all the way through the upcoming weekend. It's a Friday recording, which is fine because what I'm going to do is start you out with the water temperatures. I do put fog on here too, and obviously that's going to move around over the course of the weekend, but we'll look at that together here in a second. But notice a cold pool of water that's sitting just east of Nantucket. 62 degrees when you get to Nantucket Shoals, 64 at the Great South Channel, 65 at Georgia's Bank, and then you contrast that with water temperatures running about 65 to 68 through the Gulf of Maine. So that cold pool is going to be interesting because it's going to at least play some games with regard to fog development here. Obviously, if you got that kind of massive cold water sitting east of Nantucket, it's going to make you a little bit more prevalent for fog here, especially as we get more humid air that starts to work in gradually on a southeast wind over the course of the weekend. In terms of Ernesto, that's the big story on the water, right? And because of the waves that come in, the rip current for the beaches. But in terms of the coastal marine forecast, this is the center of circulation. This is the timestamp in the upper left. Notice by the end of the weekend, you're starting to get this thing drawn up toward the Canadian Maritimes. It's going to go southeast of Sable Island. And as it does that, it becomes one of these classic transitioning systems, which goes from being tropical to extratropical. So what happens is the wind usually ends up on the east side of the circulation. You get your rain on the west side. And then here at home, it's just really going to be swell that's thrown off of this thing. But that's the reason that this passes so close to Sable Island, yet you don't see much in the way of wind that comes back across a lot of Nova Scotia. Now, Newfoundland's a different story. This thing comes in just southeast of St. John, so you're talking about what will be the wind cranking up at Newfoundland, probably some wind damage that'll be done. What's interesting is when you get to the Scotian slopes or you end up just south of Nova Scotia, watch the wind actually get worse as you get into Tuesday. So you get the pressure gradient behind the storm, and it kind of cranks up that wind for you as the whole thing is departing off to the north and east. Now, I can break it down for you part by part. We'll start out Saturday morning, and notice the fog that's come into the coast. Good reason for that. Real light wind. It's a southeast wind, and that means you're going to have clouds and fog that'll be dancing in at the coast. And remember, you get that cold pool southeast and east of Nantucket, so that doesn't really help the situation much in terms of the fog development. But this time of year, we still have enough sun strength and the sun angle of the sky that you could burn a lot of that off, and we probably will by the time we get to the afternoon. Now, we head deeper into the course of Saturday night and into Sunday morning. There'll be some more fog that makes its way into the mid-coast down east across Maine. The rest of us probably end up warm enough that we don't have to worry about much in the way of fog by Sunday morning. Notice your wind speeds here, still kind of generally a south-southeasterly wind that's coming in along the coastline. We get to Sunday afternoon, showers inland, not many of them though, along the immediate coast. The farther east you go, the fewer showers there'll be. There goes the storm Ernesto just off the edge of the screen. Here come showers and thunderstorms. The most active day for those is going to be on Monday. And see what I mean about the wind actually picking up well behind the storm, and that's what sweeps in across the Scotian slopes and sweeps in across the Northeast Channel as well. By the time we get to Tuesday, we've got a cold front coming through Tuesday that will shift the wind. It will also dry us out, so you end up with a totally different air that comes in as we get to the middle of next week with generally an offshore breeze to get things started as we get to Tuesday and beyond. In terms of the waves over the period, look, this is the big story for beachgoers. We've been talking about rip currents out on the water for nearshore mariners. It's not like the waves are terrible on Saturday at 2 to 4 feet, although 4 feet's no bargain if you're a small craft boater. But still, there's a lot of power in these waves, and that's because they're coming off the hurricane. And actually, what you'll watch is as we go into Sunday, the waves continue to build. You get offshore, you got 7-footers. You get out by Nova Scotia, you got 8-footers. Georgia's Bank picks up 8-footers for us on Sunday as well. By the time we get to Monday, I think we're talking about 10 to 15-foot seas when you get out toward the Canadian Maritimes. Here at home, it may not get that big, but on Monday, you still got a 9-foot sea sitting out at Wilkinson Bank, and you've got at least on the order of about 3 to 5 close to shore. And remember, there's a lot of power in those waves, so there's going to be an awful big bump out on the water here over the coming days, the closer that Ernesto gets and as it makes its pass. Well, let's go Saturday and Sunday here, south coastal locations. You can see generally what you got here is 2 to 4 foot seas that are when you get into parts of Buzzards Bay and Narragansett Bay of the south side. Then you start getting 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10 in that lime green that you see. Now, I already showed you the waves, but this is just kind of a closer look. And by Sunday, it's still this wind that's coming in on shore for the most part here. You get across the eastern beaches and near shore waters. You've got winds coming out of the southeast or south-southeast on Saturday. Notice the waves do build just offshore and outside of Boston Harbor by the time we get to Sunday. And in the northern waters, we're going to get probably the worst of the swell. The south coast and the coast of Maine ends up getting the biggest swell. So here's Saturday. You've only got winds that are 6 to 9 miles an hour, but at the same time, you're dealing with that 6 to 8 foot sea that's building. And then here you go, that's a 10+ foot sea when you get down over the Gulf of Maine. Obviously, that's a lot of power coming in toward the shoreline as well. So that's the rundown on how things are shaping up. Just a reminder, if you grab our app, Noyes' 1 degree outside weather app, you can actually set and pinpoint your location even offshore. So if you got favorite spots for lobster pots, things like that, you'll be able to get all the weather information you need. It does not have things like waves and tides. But that's the way things look for now. Stay safe out there. See you again in a little bit.